Hello, welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube. Myself, Mark Carlaw, and Mr. Riley Finch. Riley, some news has come out now, and it's news that's like sort of gone a little flying under the radar a little bit. So David Moyes was speaking to the Daily Mail, and said basically that Mark Noble is in line to be returned to the club. He's going to be coming back in a more director role, which X told us quite a while ago on Patreon that was going to be the plan. So now, that's sort of been confirmed. And I think it's going to be a sporting director role it's kind of been mentioned by David Moyes. What's your thoughts on this? Are you pleased with this?
I mean, surprising, mate. I mean, the last I heard, Noble was going on a well-deserved holiday. I didn't think he was going to jump back into West Ham. Yeah, I'm not sure really. I would love to see him in more of an academy sort of role. Sort of like coaching the academy players, because I think a lot of our academy players have attributed their success to Noble. For instance, Rice and Johnson. So I feel like he's more suited for that kind of he's a character, he's a people's person. I feel like maybe, I'm not exactly sure what the sporting director's role would entail for him, but can he spot talent? Is that what he's what's your understanding of a sporting director sort of role?
I thought that my understanding of the role would be that he'd be quite heavily involved in the recruitment side of things, and also probably play like an ambassador role maybe as well, sort of trying to get the club recognised on the getting sponsorship deals and those kind of things. I mean, for me, I really want to get Mark back at the club as soon as possible. I know, like we say, he wanted, like you said, sorry, mate, that he wanted a break. But I kind of get that feeling when I picture Mark Noble in my mind, which obviously I do on a daily basis, is that he'd be always, every moment, is that he's probably quite bored already. I get that. I can imagine he's at home now, or he's on holiday, and he's probably sitting there thinking, "Oh, I wish I was playing," and probably messaging the lads and see how they're getting on. I bet he's itching to get back at West Ham. I bet his missus, I bet he's driving her mad as she's probably thinking, I'll just go back to work. You know what I mean? Can you imagine it?
No, I mean, the only thing I would question as well is, are we giving him this role because he's Mark Noble, or are we going to give him this role because he's actually going to do a really good job and he's like suited and qualified for it?
Well,
because
funny you say that, mate.
Yeah.
You've just hit the nail on the head, because Moyes did say that he's been studying this for a while. So he went, he's been doing his training and learning. So and knowing Mark as we do, I can't imagine him doing a half-assed kind of approach to it. Do you know what I mean?
But I don't know. I sometimes you get the feeling that it's like for instance, when Wayne Rooney was linked with the Everton job, and you sort of think, is he linked with the job because he's really good, or is he linked with the job because he's Wayne Rooney and he used to play for him? So you do worry sometimes that, of course, you all want to get Mark back in as quickly as possible. Is this the right role for him? Like, is this kind of just us getting him back in because it's Mark Noble, or is it because he's the best available person out there for that role? So that is one thing that does worry me a little bit. And I really think it'd be a brilliant asset. Like, as you say, in that ambassador role would be a brilliant asset, but also in that kind of nurturing academy sort of role. And I guess, when he's picking up talent and sort of looking at players, I think he'll know sort of what he's looking for. He'll know the kind of characters he wants at West Ham. And, if you want to join West Ham, you'd look at Mark Noble and say, well, look, mate, you can have a, 15, 16-year-old career here, retire at 36 with, millions in the bank and a cushy job as a director of football. So, he's going to be a great kind of talking point for our club. And we're all miss Mark Noble. We all want to see him in the club in some capacity. So,
yes,
if he seems like he's up for the job, then, let him sign the dotted line.
Well, I agree. And I'll tell you what I quite like about it. And when I think of Mark, I always think of not only his playing days, but I always think of how he helps players settle in that come into the club, and how he gets them to understand the history of the club and to really sort of become part of the West Ham family. And dare I say it, mate, we did a video not long ago regarding Declan Rice and regarding his future. I think this will only help that. I mean, us trying to keep Rice at the club, maybe signing a new deal, to have someone at Noble in a kind of more senior role at the club that no doubt will have some sort of say on contracts and how much we offer, maybe. I mean, I don't know exactly what he would be involved in and how much say he would have, but you'd imagine he'd have some opinion and be able to sway things. And also, he'll be in and around the club again. He'll be, let's be honest, we know Mark, what he's like. He'll be at the training ground a lot. He'll be around. He's not someone that's going to just sit at home and do Teams or Zoom calls. He's going to be there in the thick of it. And I don't know. I'm really pleased about it. I mean, it certainly seems to be happening sooner than I expected. I thought it might have been about 2 or 3 years down the line, have a little break and then come back. But as we said, I mean, you can imagine he's bored already. Yeah, I mean, it's only July, and I can imagine he's probably thinking, I want to be back at work.
he's clearly done his fantasy football. He's put Rice in there. He's put Johnson in there, and he sort of thought, "Well, I'm
Yeah,
done with that now. What do I do
yeah.
next?" But
He's played FIFA. He's done that
yeah,
now. You know,
he's
what I mean, he's
played with
won the
his
Champions
Endavira
League.
cards. He's scored 60 long shots. He's got an England team. He's won the World
Yeah,
Cup with them. You know, he's done it all. But
yeah.
I don't know. One thing I will say though is it'll be interesting to see if now that his employment status has changed with GSB, if he's going to be quite vocal because you know when the Diangana sale happened, we saw he was quite vocal. And
Mm.
obviously, at the end of the day, you know GSB are your boss. They, you know,
Yeah.
theoretically speaking, they could suspend your contract. They wouldn't do it, but they could suspend your contract or you know
Mm.
say something to the manager and say suspend him or whatever. And I feel like in a director of sort of football role, there's
Mm.
less room for punishment. So I feel like he might actually be able to sit there and be a little bit more, you know, upfront with GSB. And again,
Yeah.
it'll be like having a fan in the boardroom, you know, which is something
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
will reconnect the fans with the club, hopefully.
That's a really good point, and you know, you've hit the nail on the head there, mate. I think that's a really, really good point, and that's something I didn't really consider. But yeah, you're right. It's like a proper conduit between the fans and the ball, where we've been so disconnected. You know, there's such an issue between. I know I appreciate things are better now, and let's be honest, it's because of what's been going on the pitch the last couple of years. But you're right. I mean, imagine having someone like Mark Noble sitting around the ball table and making decisions. I mean,
Yeah,
you can imagine some of the nonsense that they probably table sometimes and say, "Oh, we're going to do this, going to do that." And if you've got someone like Noble, who's a fan, who knows about the club and knows what the fans want, and if he's, you know, for instance, if you talk about budgets and things, you know, he'll be pushing them to invest in the team and pushing them to invest in the training facilities and say, "Look, we've got to start upping our game." Whereas, you can imagine GSB probably want to do things like, get a new screen around the crowd stadium or something. And he's probably going, no, don't bother with that. Fans aren't interested in that. You know what I mean?
we want the second biggest speakers and the first biggest screen, I reckon. But
Yeah,
I
I
just
know.
do wonder how much influence he will have because if even a say in the boardroom, even just
Mm,
planting that seed in GSB's head, that's a
mm.
bonus, isn't it? Really, that's
Yeah,
better than it not being there. So even if he's not going to be like holding them to ransom, at
yeah.
least he's planting those little seeds, and hopefully they're seeds that you know are coming from sort of the fans' perspective.
Oh, do you know what, mate? I'm really excited by it. I mean, I think what we'll be doing is X will provide an update on the situation in due course and find out exactly what the role is and find out a bit more in terms of when he'll be starting possibly and things like that. So really look forward to that because obviously, yeah, I think it'd be a really good big lift for the club as well. I think especially going into a new season, if we knew that Mark was coming back and I mean, I'd say I don't know when this is going to be happening because he did make it quite clear he wanted a big break, didn't he? From the
Yeah,
go on holiday and spend some time with the family. But yeah,
he's,
I've got my gut feeling tells me that by
yeah.
Christmas he'll be back at the club.
He's pulled a little Wolf of Wall Street. He's not leaving. He's coming back. He's staying.
That's it.
And yeah, it'd be great to have him back at the club.
That'd be brilliant, mate. Be brilliant. Thanks everyone for watching, and yeah, we'll take care. Speak soon.